As the president has stated on numerous occasions, he did nothing wrong.
Familiar words from the White House, even though two former Trump confidants, Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen, are now convicted criminals. But Cohen is the one drawing fire from the White House.
Just because Michael Cohen made a plea deal doesn't mean that that implicates the president on anything.
That may not be true. Not only did Cohen admit to arranging hush payments to two women, he essentially said Trump directed him to do it, which raises all sorts of questions.
Every single remedy, including indictment of the president, should be on the table.
So where does Donald Trump now stand in the eyes of the law, and what might be in store for his presidency? For answers, let's talk to David Frum. He's in Toronto tonight. He's a former Republican Party insider, now a senior editor at The Atlantic. Good to see you, David.
Thank you.
I want to start with what the president has told Fox News about all of this. So let's play a clip of him from an interview that will air tomorrow, but that he gave today to get his perspective, and I'll get you to weigh in after.
Did you know about the payments?
Later on, I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me, and I tweeted about it. You know, I don't know if you know, but I tweeted about the payments. But they didn't come out of campaign. In fact, my first question when I heard about it was, did they come out of the campaign? Because that could be a little dicey.
Okay, there's some factual things that aren't really true there in what the president's saying. But let me ask you, you know, we have had many a scandal with this president. At what point are we at a tipping point? Is this the point?
Can we reverse engineer that clip, though? Because it really pays attention, because it's such an example of the Trump method. First, President Trump says, well, I've always been forthcoming about the payments. In fact, in April, he denied them. Now he says, well, I knew about it after the event. Michael Cohen released an audio recording of Michael Cohen and Donald Trump planning the payment and how it would be done. So that's a whole series of untruths. But what has happened to him, this is why you should always go to the briefing before the interview, in order to clear himself by saying, hey, it was campaign money, it was not campaign money, it was my money, he confessed to a felony. Because the law doesn't care how you use your campaign funds. It only cares that they be properly disclosed. What the law objects to in the United States is if, in order to avoid disclosure, you go around the finance system and spend money that's really a campaign donation, but you do it illicitly and without disclosing. That's what he just confessed to.
But why is that not enough then? Why is this, you know, like everything else, he seems to continue. Is this the thing that everyone decides, okay, we are going to impeach him, okay, this is the end of his presidency?
No, this isn't that thing, because the American political system, impeachment is a political process. Sure. Removal is a political process, and requires an overwhelming consensus of the society that the president must go. Here's a way to think about it. In 1998, Bill Clinton was impeached, and that turned into a total fiasco. Through the impeachment, Bill Clinton had 60% approval. In 1974, Richard Nixon began the impeachment process and resigned rather than be impeached, and he was at 20% approval. So, you know, 60% means impeachment won't work, 20% means it will. Trump's at 40, and that's the question the American political system has to resolve. What do you do with a president who clearly has done things that are very wrong? There are credible allegations he's done things that are worse than wrong, and yet he still has support in the 40% range, enough to lose an election, but maybe not enough to support an impeachment. Okay, so
could a turning point be the midterms? Will people, you know, take a look at things again and make a decision based on what they've heard, these allegations, for the midterms?
Well, the midterms will make an enormous difference. Let me just give you one example of how so. So Donald Trump Jr. lied to Congress when he denied that his father knew in advance that Donald Trump Jr. had met with Russian agents to get information on Hillary Clinton. That's a lie to Congress, and lying to Congress is a crime. But things only happen to you if Congress sends the lie over to the Department of Justice and say, please act on this. Sure. The Republican Congress has opted not to. A Democratic Congress might say, you know what, Donald Trump Jr. has lied to Congress. That's something worth looking into.
You mentioned Russia in that answer, but Russia wasn't mentioned yesterday. Collusion wasn't mentioned yesterday. What does that tell you about the state of that investigation, if anything?
Well, it tells you that when you commit a lot of crimes, they will cover a wide area of possible human activity. So the Cohen matter probably doesn't have a lot to do with Russia. The Manafort matter certainly does, because remember, Manafort was beholden to these Russian-backed Ukrainian oligarchs. He was in desperate financial trouble. He volunteered to work for the Trump campaign for free. Why was Manafort so willing to be inserted into the Trump campaign in that way? And why did Donald Trump take him? So there's a backdrop of Russia there. But remember, if you are following the Russia story, it's not even 10 days that we have learned that indeed Donald Trump knew in advance and planned for the meeting with the Russians to receive stolen information about Hillary Clinton.
So let me end on this, really, 20 seconds. Is this a Teflon president, then? Is there nothing that can undo him? Should we expect more of these kinds of revelations? He's
the opposite of Teflon. I work for George W. Bush. If George W. Bush had an economy like this, he would have had 60% approval. So would, Barack Obama. If he'd ever had it, he might have done a little bit better, actually. Donald Trump is at 40 only because the economy is so strong. This is a president who is desperately unpopular. I think after the midterms, you'll have a clearer sense of the fragility of his political position, and so will he.
Okay, David Frum, good to see you as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.